Hi everyone. So I've had a few questions about the strategic communication assignment, and I wanted to give you some pointers here. I figured the best way to do it would be to record a short video in which I just look at some of the elements of the assignment and show you some of the documentation. So as you will already know from reading the assignment requirements and looking at the rubrics, the idea is essentially to conduct a very small experiment using strategic communication to test a particular series of hypotheses. Now let's just refer to a couple of things. I want to first show you the Van Ruler slides that are up. They are up in week 6. And you'll remember that we went through this strategic communication exercise, or we went through the slides rather, indicating Van Ruler's approach to communication, strategic communication. And there are a couple of differences from the way strategic communication is approached by, let's say, the mainstream, if you like. So this particular academic has taken a couple of principles and given us alternatives to considering them. So be mindful of slides 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I want you to just go back and look at those. Here I am looking at slide 7, in which I have a list of some approaches to strategic communication and a definition. So what we're saying is strategic communication is purposeful, meaning it has to have a particular goal, and it's consistent with some values and seeks to advance a mission. All right, so let me come now to the slides that you may well have downloaded by now, according to the assignment. So the assignment has a link at the beginning and it says download these slides. It creates it's a PowerPoint essentially, and it's got some particular headings, 2 of which I want us to change and the rest I want you to fill out and submit at the end of week 9, along with the 2 written components. Now, let me just say one thing about this from the outset, and that is, this is just a proposal for the approach you want to take with your strategic communication. And I think what we can do is say that we're going to look out for this because we want you to have thought about it by the end of this week. However, it's just proposal and we're going to accept updates to it, but I do want you to think about it. So I don't want you to just submit the 2 written statements, which was a particular question at the end of week 9. I want you to think about this as your group and submit this. And we will look at it to see what you've come up with, but we will mark the updated version, let's say in week 12, when we get the other pieces with the assignment, okay? All right, so here are some of the slides. I have come up with the idea of doing a, let me show you, let me go back to the Van Ruler, if I can, sorry. Okay, so the kind of campaign I want to do is number 6, it's informational social marketing. I'm going to be using social media and I'm going to be testing something. Okay, so let me come back now to these slides. I've decided I'm a health agency, maybe a Ministry of Health, for example. And I just outlined some of the unique selling propositions. So what this organization is about. It doesn't have to be a real organization. And so some of this is kind of, well, is going to be made up, but I would like you to, come up with something probable. So I'm saying if I'm a health agency, It's likely that I have a responsibility for a wide population, that policy that, excuse me, comes out. This organization is going to be data driven, and I'm going to have access to a particular target audience, maybe through schools or an education system. Now, I've listed some cons in brackets below, which obviously I wouldn't expect you to do, but I'm just listing them to show you the kinds of things that are in contrast to what is a positive. And so you might want to think about how you represent your unique selling proposition, because obviously there are some negatives. You know, a ministry or a big institution like that is typically designed according to the classical organization structures. Therefore, it's slow to respond. It has to be seen to be equitable, therefore targeting groups equally. And, you know, responders to any kind of questionnaire or any kind of strategic communication that they get through an agency like a school may be skeptical of, maybe skeptical a little bit to respond to it, may feel there's a kind of certain pressure or an institutional approach to something, and it comes off in a certain way, which is negative. All right, so let's look at the idea itself. I'm going to come off this series of slides and just show you something else. So I was thinking about what kind of project I could do using social media. And I decided, okay, I have an interest in using memes, and I want to use memes around vaping as a way of testing what young boys in TNT feel about vaping. And I want to try and influence their behavior by creating a couple of memes of my own to go in these memes. So here we have 3 memes. One is with a woman with her glasses tipped off, and it's got what I'm calling a sexualized message. I'm going to be very stereotypical throughout this commentary. In other words, I'm not particularly refined because I'm doing this quite quickly just to give you an outline. All right, then I've used a celebrity they may know from a TV show, and this is also encouraging of vaping, and this message, the point of it is to show a celebrity or a TV character that they may know. And the last one is Judge Judy, and she's obviously quite critical and basically is saying if you vape, you're also not doing anything good to your health, and she uses this kind of negative statement, you're a moron. All right, so my plan is, initially I was thinking about how can I use memes to test the attitude of boys in TNT towards vaping, young boys, let's say teens, and to see whether they're more influenced or more supportive of memes that show vaping to be cool because they are stressed, the characters in the meme, and therefore that's something that these boys would relate to themselves, or more influenced by memes that shows vaping is cool. And I was looking for memes and I couldn't find anything in my quick search that related to the kind of stress element. So I just stuck with memes that are either positive or negative. So I'm kind of refining my ideas as I go along. All right, so let me come back to showing you another, the screen again with the slides. Okay, so remember we're thinking about memes now and how we can use memes to influence boys who either vape or who have attitudes towards vaping. So I came up with a strategy statement, which is the first slide that I asked you to modify. Use memes to influence the attitude of boys who vape. That's a key strategy. And I've decided also to use TNT tropes to influence the relatability of memes to boys who vape. So I'm thinking about adding 2 memes to the 3 and doing some kind of test, some kind of questionnaire maybe to my target audience. So here are a few of the hypotheses I came up with. And this is the other slide that you're going to modify from the initial set. And what I've done is I've put some ideas down, And then I put the hypothesis in bold and underlined it. So I'm hypothesizing that vaping is more attractive than smoking using conventional, regular cigarettes, not conventional. Secondly, that boys might find the sexualized message with the woman tipping off her glasses more appealing. Again, as I said, I'm being very stereotypical. I'm just, going with the easiest thing right now, just to highlight a particular idea. And lastly, that boys are actually going to be more influenced by a sibling or a parent than the memes, which means I'm going to have to look at testing these things. You might not want to test all of them. You might want to just test 2 or 1, but I'm just giving you some possibilities. All right, so here are some audiences that we could test. 8 to 12-year-olds and 13 to 18-year-olds. Presumably 8 to 12-year-olds may have seen vaping and just have an idea about it. They're probably not going to be vaping, one would hope. And so I've put them down, and the kinds of things that you want to indicate about the target audience are some of the attitudes and influences as you understand them. Again, this is just a proposal at this stage. So these are just the kinds of things you want to look at. And as I'm saying, you might test these groups against an audience with or without siblings, because we are interested in whether they're influenced by the siblings or the meme, more influenced. You might want to test the audience against those who have parents who smoke or don't smoke. And you might want to test the audience on Instagram and those who don't use Instagram, because they would have access to the memes or not. So you might think about the way your questionnaire, your short questionnaire, is actually going to tackle some of these variables. So this would be where you would put some of the meme messages. This slide, as you can see, I've actually set out the boys 8 to 12 and the boys 13 to 18. And I'm thinking of comparing Instagram with Facebook. Obviously that may be too complicated, too time consuming, and you may not have access to these different groups. Therefore, if you were just using Instagram, you could do that and try and target boys 8 to 12 and boys 13 to 18 and find ways of doing that. Here again, I've just added some data or some variables on the left under audience: boys 8 to 12, boys 13 to 18, girls within those age groups, because you might want to do a gendered comparison, and boys with older brothers or older siblings, let's say, on Instagram and Facebook. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show them those 3 memes, and I'm thinking of capturing this audience by joining, through my own Instagram account, a TNT youth forum, for example. And in using the memes, the 2 that I'm going to create of my own, I'm going to create a TNT meme using a known celebrity that they might respond to, Machel Montano, whoever is suitable for that age group, for example. I might want to compare it with a US celebrity, or I might want to do, if I'm doing the sibling thing or the influence from a maybe strong female personality, I might do a meme that has a mum character in it, or a meme that has a sister character in it with a positive message or a negative message, like the, you're an idiot kind of thing, like the Judge Judy one, or something of that nature. So here's what I'm going to do. My overarching goal is to do this meme campaign, and we're looking to do these experiments in a really short way. So I'm going to use 5 questions. I'm going to have a ranking question, meaning I'm going to put those 3 memes that we've already taken off the internet. I'm going to create 2 and get them to rank them in order of, maybe how funny they find them or how they respond to them. Your question might be, which do you prefer, which do you find better, or find a better way of ranking them, because those are quite simplistic. That's quite a simplistic category. You might do a couple of Likert scales, and you should know what those are. And then you might have a couple of qualitative questions in your questionnaire. So a couple of questions in your questionnaire where they're required to write a sentence or 2. And here I've said what my goals are and what my metrics are. My goal is to find if boys like the TNT meme more, and I'm asserting that they will, and we will test this by ranking whether they put the Machel Montano meme higher than the others. I'm saying strong females will positively influence boys, so a sibling, maybe a sister or a mum. And so I'm going to test how they view the meme with the female characters in it, and maybe someone who looks like a Trinidad mum or Trinidad sister, for example. And I want to also discourage vaping. And by doing that, I might use a meme that has a positive frame message or a negative frame message. So negative frame message, these are things you can look up, but a negative frame essentially focuses on the negative. So it says you're an idiot in order to discourage you to be better, whereas a positive frame is kind of inspirational. And that's one way of doing a positive and negative. All right, so I've showed you the slides as I would do them, and this is just an example, and because I've done this example, you can't do the same thing. I have indicated a particular approach using the memes and the fact that I'm going to use 3 off the internet and create 2 of my own. And I've shown you the overall strategic approach you would take using the slides that we have put in week 6, myself and Greer, which indicate an approach to strategic communication. So once you put those 3 things together, you should come up with an idea. Remember, it's 4 or 5 of you in a group, which means if you're putting out a questionnaire, you would only each need to get 3 or 4 respondents, and then you're all going to be writing that one combined research report. So as I said, at the end of this week, week 9, you're just going to be submitting this proposal, and I want you to have thought through some ideas, which is why we're asking for it at the end of this week, but we're not going to mark it till week 12. So if you adapt it between weeks 9 and week 12, when you do your final submission and your final presentation, all of that is fine, but we just want to see that you've actually thought through some ideas and worked up some examples. And I really do hope that has been helpful. Thank you.